We're now about to do a third angle orthographic projection of this V block right here. This is an interesting exercise because we're left with only the starting positions and we have to fill in the rest of the technical orthographic information that's necessary. So the first thing we do when we do instrumental drawing is to align your page to the T-square. So I think it's a good idea to align our page to these starting positions. And just as we've done before, the first thing that, in our drawing, it's a good thing to produce a starting line which we can align our page to every time. The second thing we do when we do instrumental drawing is write your name in beautiful capital graphics letters in the title block. Here I am doing that, attending to the kerning, which is the spacing between the letters. Each letter is of course the exact same height, the top touching the top line, the bottom touching the bottom line. Capital, capital, capital. So let's have a look at this here. This face here has the most information. So this one here is going to be our front or main elevation, looking at that way. This one right here will be good for the side elevation, and this one right here will be the plan view. And so let us begin or continue using these starting lines to our advantage. So planning out our page, I think what we have here is our M block, our main elevation of our V block going here. The plan is of course on top and the side view is on the side. Looking at our reference, it says 80. So let's start like that. From this side we're going the full distance, which is 80, and we're putting that tiniest little mark on 80, not 79, not 81, and we'll take that all the way up. The height for our V block is 50, so we'll put our set square on our T-square and the 0 going through that ground line, and put the tiniest little mark on 50. And while we're doing it, we'll see that the depth lines here are 60, so we'll measure up from here and just pull this down a little bit. So, measuring from 100 is easy to count 60 millimeters above that. So through those little marks, put lines all the way across and all the way across. This line here needs a line going all the way across. Now let's do our 45-degree line, which is our magic line for third angle orthographic. You see this starting point and this starting point come together and they shoot off on this angle. Rest your 45-degree set square on the T-square and produce that line all the way up. This line at the top comes across and down, which means now we have the space or the crate for our main elevation, our plan view, and our side view. Halfway in between main elevation and side view, we want a turning plane line. Halfway between here and here, we want a turning plane line. So we'll extend this out across here. Oh, it's not exactly halfway, but our turning plane line is long, short, short, long, short, short, long, short, short. All the long should be similarly long, all the short should be similarly short, and all the gaps in between should be very, very similar. And now we're getting ready to do the next stage, which is putting some of the inside information in here. We have a measurement of 10 up for the flat space underneath this M looking shape, and 25 down for the middle of that V. Let's do that now. Here we go. Zero on the starting line, and we go 10 up, and from the top, which is 50, we're going 25 down. Through those little marks, we want to produce lines all the way across. Make sure they're guidelines. Light as can be, so light you can barely. Now in the reference, we've got these flat parts on top. That says 20 and that says 20, so that's easy to do. We'll mark 20 from the left and 20 from the right. And through those tiny marks, we'll go all the way up and all the way up. So do not be deceived. The V part of this is not necessarily 45 degrees. So do not put your set square like this and draw the line. You will not get down to the 25 millimeter mark. We need to find the center. The center of 80 is 40. And you'll see it's not 45. This crosses, let's go like this. So if we go across here, that's not the center. This is the center right here. And if we go across here, that's not reaching it. So this needs to be lifted up a bit. This is one of those strange angles, those rare times where we lift the set square off the T-square in order to produce a line that is dot to dot. Suddenly we've got the presentation lines for the front elevation. From there, it's relatively simple to get the lines for the plan and the lines for the side elevation. Let's do that now. This is what this V block would look like if a bird were flying over it. That's why it's called, at other times, the bird's eye view. Now the side elevation. And that's all we'd see there, except we have X-ray vision where we see this point turning on the turning plane line becomes this hidden line. Hidden because we're seeing through the solid object to that edge. Now that would be the end of it, except we have to label each view. So let's produce our labels. I'm going to go 15 down, and these labels will be between 5mm guidelines. So I'll produce that guideline all the way across. And all the way across. These are 5mm apart. So this will be called the side elevation, or the left-hand side elevation. And we want beautiful capital graphics letters. We have the main elevation, or let's call it the front elevation. These capital graphics letters should all be touching the top. F-R-O. U. Front. Does front have a O-U or a not? I'm having a mind fart. Yeah. So I'm measuring 15 down and 5 up. With guidelines here and here. This is our plan view. P-L-A-N. Now you'd think that's finished, but it's not, because we've got to label the axis. When we label the axis, we do it between 3mm guidelines and 1mm away from the line. So I'll just do the top guides there. And when we label the axis, we call it VP, or vertical plane, and HP for horizontal plane. Vertical plane 1 is there, and vertical plane 2 is here. And add 2 major dimensions to each view. Let's just add 1, 1, and 2. Now all these dimensions need to be evenly apart, a minimum is it at least 10mm away from the view. The dimension line can be as thick as a presentation line, but it has arrowheads which are 3 millimeters long and 1 millimeter wide at the base. Extension lines. Dimension lines are nothing without measurements. The measurements need to go between 3 millimeter lines 1 millimeter elevated off from the dimension line. So 1 millimeter above the dimension line, between 3 millimeter guidelines. We put the measurement here is 50. 50 should read with your left ear down. When the dimension is on the side. This one here is 60. And your dimension, that is the number, again between 3 millimeter guidelines, 1 millimeter above the dimension line, and that measurement there is 80. There we go. Done. Thank you very much. Well done.